Greetings, dear viewer, and welcome to Purposes Crossed, where I hope that people who are called by Jesus for different purposes cross paths and exchange ideas. In this video, we continue with our series of reflections on the Sermon on the Mount. In the previous video of the series, we saw how Jesus commands us to love our enemies. We saw that Jesus does not permit us the luxury of adhering to the conventional wisdom that we can hate those who have offended us. Rather, he asks us to extend our love even to those who have hurt us deeply. Everything around us speaks against Jesus' vision of unfettered grace. We are taught never to become indebted to anyone, lest that person gains a hold on us. Indeed, we often do people favors only to remind them later of their indebtedness to us. In this way, we use even our good deeds as swords of Damocles, and in so doing, turn our good deeds into evil. We could hardly remember a time when we did something for someone without expecting our kindness to be repaid. But Jesus tells us that love is, at its source in God, unconditional. Indeed, to love someone is to set him or her free from any obligation to return our love. That this is what Jesus is getting at is evident from his command to love our enemies. As we saw in the previous video, enemies are those who have an antagonistic stance towards us. Such people are hardly going to return our kindness, but Jesus tells us to love them. And since we can expect no kindness in return, such acts of love will be unconditional. What sets Jesus' followers apart is their willingness to love without strings attached. Here it is important to note that we are not to love our enemies because they are enemies, but despite their being enemies. That is, we do not find in their hatred towards us a reason for withholding our love. Jesus is a master of human nature. We have already observed human reluctance to remain in anyone's debt. So if we love our enemy, he or she might be just so uncomfortable at being at the receiving end of such generosity that he or she might in fact return our kindness. The person may not do it out of wholly wholesome motives. Nonetheless, our unmerited kindness could prompt an act in return, an act of kindness. And if we make a practice of doing good in this manner, the other person might return our kindness so often that he or she forgets that we were the enemy. That is, of course, the best scenario. Most probably, the person will either continue or even intensify his or her hatred towards us. Jesus tells us that in the face of even such unflinching opposition, we should respond with love. This is what is distinct about Jesus' disciples. They respond to evil with good. In a world characterized by payback, characterized by revenge, Jesus tells us to break this cycle of hate by positive acts of love. There is no denying that Jesus is asking us to do something that is exceptional. Unfortunately, the church has made the difficulty of Jesus' command an excuse for rendering his teaching void. But if Jesus himself is exceptional, can we expect him to settle for less from his own disciples? Let us therefore be determined to do the exceptional thing of loving those who consider us their enemies. We are, after all, God's people, because Jesus did that exceptional work for us.